Did you know to get a perfect Yorkshire pudding out of your oven every time, it's all based on oven temperature and the fat you're using in your tray? Today we're going to dive into the world of Yorkshire puddings and how to get an absolute guaranteed perfect Yorkshire pudding out of your oven every time. If your Yorkshire puddings are turning out like this, but you want them to look as big as a small boy's head, then this is the recipe for you. Ooh. So I know a few people who can't get Yorkshire pudding to stay up, rise, look good, stay crispy and stay inflated when it comes out of the oven. So today we're going to talk about Yorkshire puddings and how to get the best Yorkshire pudding out of your oven. Okay, so starting off with the batter, we're going to need a nice clean glass bowl, a Yorkshire pudding tray and a whisk. And to measure out the batter, no scales, we're just going to use a cup straight out of the cupboard. So here's a nice simple recipe that has worked for me every time. 30 years in the catering industry, never fails. We're going to do equal quantities of plain flour. So just measuring the flour into the cup, straight to the top, and then we're going to tip this into the glass bowl. And now using the same cup, we're going to take some nice fresh eggs. We're going to crack those eggs into that same cup, taking it up to exactly the same level the flour was. And now we're going to tip those eggs straight into the flour. Plop, there we go, last one's going in. And now we're going to whisk around that flour and egg mixture into a nice paste. I'll give it a quite good beating to get that gluten, help strengthen the Yorkshire pudding. Clean up after yourself, as always. Now we're going to measure out the milk exactly the same as the eggs and the flour, and then we're going to gradually add that into that paste to get a nice, 30 years cooking, still spill the milk. Without crying over spilt milk, I've changed my technique and remembering that the milk always drips to the bottom of the cup. We're going to gradually, what am I talking about? We're going to gradually add that milk into the batter until it's nice and smooth, cleaning up the spilt milk, and then we're going to whisk it until it's nice and smooth. Don't worry too much if we've got a few lumps, it's not the end of the world. And now we're going to rest the batter in the fridge for about 45 minutes to 2 hours. Overnight's fine, but 45 minutes should do it. And now once it's out, I'm just going to give it a little season just to add some flavour to the Yorkshire puddings before they go in the oven. Now a big sticking point in the UK, what oil do you use in your tray? Let me know in the comments. I'm going to use lard because I just like the smell of that fat cooking when I'm doing a roast. I'm going to use a nice non-stick tray, and I'm also going to try and make a great big Yorkshire pudding that I can fill with a roast. Delicious. And now if you're going to use lard, it comes in a cold solid block, so we're going to need to melt that down first. We're going to drop that into a little non-stick pan, and on a low heat just melt that really gently. Okay, to make it nice and easy, when I decant the oil into the trays, I'm just going to put that into a nice pouring jug. Remember it's hot, so watch your fingers, and I'm going to turn the oven up to 250°C. Now I'm going to add that fat into the Yorkshire pudding trays. You can add it to a cold tray, that's fine. We can add it to a hot tray. And then I'm going to tip it up like this. This technique got 1.5 million views on Facebook and a lot of controversy, so let me know what you think. But I find it a nice, easy way to get a consistent amount of oil in each well of the tray. Now the tray is going into the oven, which is set at 250°C. We're going to do the same with a large Yorkshire pudding tin, and that's going as well. I'm going to put a tray on the bottom in case any oil spills over. I can remove that quickly. And now I'm going to put the Yorkshire pudding batter into the same jug as the lard. Not really for any reason, but the lard flavour goes into the batter and it doesn't really matter. Now I'm going to take the tray out of the oven, keeping it as close to the oven as I can. I'm going to pour that batter halfway up the well, Remember, this is really hot. You can see it fizzing and bubbling as I pour it in. And I'm going to add that batter halfway up into each well before sliding it carefully and gently back into the oven. Obviously keeping it on the oven doors, keeping it nice and close to the oven so you're not walking around with hot fat or spilling the batter. So keep it as close to the oven as you can. And then nice and carefully, back in she pops. And we're going to repeat that with a large tray as well. And now the batter is back in the oven. We're going to turn the oven temperature down to 220°C, and leave it for 20 minutes. Set the timer, and this is what you get. And now you're looking for some nice colour on the Yorkshire pudding. So if you open the door a little bit too early when you think they're ready, they might deflate. So you want to get some nice colour on there, a nice all over brown consistency just like this, and they should keep their shape, ready for your roast dinner or Christmas lunch. And look at that. That is a banging, tasty, super delicious Yorkshire pudding. Very satisfying to watch. Please let me know what you think in the comments, good or bad, I can take it. I know Yorkshire puddings differ across the country in the UK, but this is my favourite recipe, and I'm going to take this great big Yorkshire pudding now, and I'm going to stuff it full of a delicious roast and cover it in some homemade beef brisket gravy. Oh, look at that. Does it get any better? So good. Okay, and that's it. That's all you need to know. Please let me know in the comments if you've got any tips that you use when you're doing your Yorkshire puddings. But like I said, it's all based on a good oven temperature, a nice hot oil, and then turn that oven down to 220, and then 20 minutes, don't open the oven door, let the Yorkshire pudding rise, cook, set, and it's ready to go. Please let me know in the comments what you use in your tray. Do you use beef dripping, vegetable oil because you're vegetarian? I'd love to know what you use in your Yorkshire puddings, where you're from. Apologies for the tired looking face. We're about to open a sandwich shop in the centre of Winchester. Been in the planning for 6 months. Got the keys a couple of weeks ago. Now it's a quick turnaround and get ready open for Christmas. And if you love Christmas, please check out my playlist right here. This is my Christmas playlist of recipes that make my house super tasty in the festive season. See you in the next video.